Tame Impala is a man.
Like sometimes I'll just think of a song.
But he's also a band.
And who's in Tame Impala? Could you please introduce them?
All right, I'm Kevin. This is Jay.
My name's Jay.
Coldplay is definitely a band.
We formed our band in that room. Something else happened in that room.
But imagine, just for a second, if Tame Impala made Coldplay's 2008 hit song, Viva La Vida, what would that sound like? Well, you don't have to imagine for much longer, because I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make that. This is my most ambitious project yet. It's been a lot of twists, a lot of turns, and I'm gonna take you along on the journey with me. Let's jump right in. The other day I was driving to work when a random thought struck me. The strings from Viva La Vida would actually make a pretty cool bass line. So when I got home, I whipped out my bass and started figuring it out. It didn't take long for me to lay down a simple but solid bass line. It's nothing to write home about, but it's a good foundation. This bass was sounding way too basic, so I pulled in an amp simulator, added some compression, and brought in some classic Tame Impala distortion. At this point, I really felt like I was getting somewhere. Okay, that's pretty cool. Now I have to figure out what to do next. Kevin Parker loves a synthesizer called the Juno 106, so I pulled up this free plugin that emulates it. I rolled off some of that harshness, then I dialed in the attack, and pulled down the decay so I got a nice short sound. Very simple. After some experimenting, I discovered that playing with this LFO could actually give a pretty cool effect. That sound would come into play later, but for now, I had to figure out what chords to play. I played along with Viva La Vida and figured out some chords that were honestly close enough. Woo! Alright, I found some chords that I think really work, and they're actually very pretty. I'm going to show you them now. Pretty nice, right? It's almost like the chords are blossoming over time. I brought in this Echo Boy to add a little bit of space to these keys. After messing around with it, I got to the point that it just added some subtle depth to the track. So here's with the delay, and here's without it. It's actually a pretty big difference. I created a new audio track and I played the chords straight without any rhythm. I wanted to have the chords by themselves to use later. Then I pulled in a filter and automated it so that it would open up as the chords played. I automated that LFO from before, so that would build up to the end of the bar too. I like that a lot. With the intro down, it was time to move on to the drums, so I gathered a bunch of realistic drum sounds to use as a foundation. After a little bit of experimentation, I laid down a really quick drum groove. It's nothing crazy, but I wanted to focus on getting that classic Tame Impala drum sound. Tame Impala's drums smack you in the face, so I dialed in compression to give my drums some punch. This tape emulator glues everything together and adds a slightly vintage feel. And then some distortion to add some grit and make everything feel like a cohesive unit. Some reverb can put these drums into a space, but a little bit goes a long way. I know that was kind of a lot, so here's what the drums sounded like before. And here's what they sound like now. That's starting to sound pretty damn good. I also laid down a nice live hi-hat sound, and after a little bit of editing, I had everything sitting right where I wanted it. So we've got the intro down, the first verse down, and now there's a little instrumental interlude, I guess you could say. So I copied these chords over that I played before. You remember the ones that sounded like wah, 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 wah. I changed around some of the settings so the wub effect would decrease throughout the interlude. With the keys down, I copied the bass line over from the intro, added a crash cymbal to the beginning, and copied the drums over as well. Yeah, it's gonna have a ride cymbal. I recorded a pretty sloppy take, but I was able to fix it in post, as they say. This is when I came up with the idea to have the interlude expand as it goes on, and then clamp down right as the verse comes in. Okay, and the guitar part during this interlude, it needs something more interesting. I decided to model a guitar line from The Less I Know the Better for this little interlude. I spent some time trying to figure out what notes to play, and I ended up with this little chord line. Really feeling it here. It does sound a little bit shitty, but it sounds better in the actual track. But we're not done yet. In fact, we're just getting started. A good guitar tone is like texting your crush. It's fun when it's clean, but it's a lot more fun when it's dirty. So I set out on trying to get a good tone for this guitar. I wanted it to be gritty and psychedelic. Nothing was really working until I pulled in this echo. The sound was getting there, but things still weren't quite right. But like a squeezed orange, I was all out of juice. It's day 2 here, and I think there are some things that I want to change, actually. So I went back and listened to Viva La Vida for some inspiration. There's this piano part in it. It only switches between 2 chords and more of like a supportive function. And it is similar to a key sound that I've heard on a lot of songs, and in particular, Tame Impala's Borderline has this really compressed and really thin piano sound. So I pulled out an upright piano plugin and started dialing in the sound. This aptly named sound knob is what got me most of the way there. But I want to be even more compressed than that. So I pulled out, you guessed it, another compressor. This is what really got me that squash, tight sound. That sounds good. It clamps down when you hit the note, but it lets the reverby part at the end really ring out. I quickly found out what notes to play, and it turned out to be pretty simple, actually. Right, so it's basically just an octave. Right now it sounds like, not much going on, but in the song I think it accents some pleasant tones. These keys play more of a supportive role, so I went ahead and turned the volume down, and I automated the reverb so that it would increase as the verse reached its conclusion. So now I hear in the second verse, actually, there's a new string part comes in. So I pulled down my trusty guitar and got to work. I'm using the same guitar track as I did for the instrumental interlude because I already had a good guitar tone, and I actually really like how the delay sounds. That sounds cool. I'm gonna try with that. I'm actually very happy with this guitar tone. I put my own little spin on it, but I did try to stay very faithful to the original string line. The second verse is twice as long as the first verse, so I cut out the drums in the second half to build some tension before the chorus. I also added this bend right before the chorus starts to add even more energy. That's good shit. And now, let's take a few seconds just to appreciate this guitar tone. That's tasty. No more nonsense. With renewed confidence, it was time to tackle this instrumental interlude once and for all. It wouldn't be Tame Impala if it didn't have a phaser on it, so of course I pulled one of them up. I did so much tweaking on this phaser my girlfriend tried to send me to rehab, but nothing was working until I moved the phaser to phase the guitar and the delay at the same time. It just made it into this nice, spaced out phasery package. That's pretty fire, actually. I like that. That's cool. Moving back to the second verse, things felt a little bit empty without any drums, so I decided to try a little 4-on-the-floor kick drum to see how that went. It adds a really nice sense of motion, but the second half is still missing something, so I let my fingers do the talking and decided to add a drum roll. I quickly drew out a MIDI drum roll, but it just didn't sound natural. So I drew out a velocity ramp for the snare so the volume would increase until the end of the bar, and I switched to a live drum emulator to get a more natural sound. After a build-up that intense, it would be pretty damn hard to make the chorus feel like it escalates the energy even further. So I decided to do the opposite. I pulled up a nice soft keys sound and quickly found some chords to play for the chorus. I thought it'd be fun to play with the listener's expectations and make this chorus very gentle and intimate, at least for the first half. Pending further review on the keys. I can never stop, I keep running for for the top. Oh, never stop. Oh, I keep running for the top. Keep running for the top. I kicked off day 4 by recording the vocal melody on this synthesizer. I wasn't ready to record vocals yet, but I wanted to have the melody there to reference while I filled out the rest of the production. One thing at once is some reverb. That's intense. I pulled the volume down so it just sits underneath. Really gives that ethereal quality. Basically like you're floating around in heaven or something. As an experiment, I pulled in a sidechain to give the reverb this pumping effect. That's cool. So we can increase the sidechain over time to sort of bring it from ethereal down to like dancey. Tame Impala's, he's not afraid to get a little dancey. I mapped the sidechain to this knob on my keyboard, and I used it to slowly increase the effect of the sidechain throughout the first half of the chorus. After making a little drum soup, I quickly laid down a drum idea and spiced it up with some nice live hi-hats. I thought the chorus just felt too slow, so I drew in some MIDI hi-hats to give the chorus some more momentum. And then Ableton crashed, but I took it pretty well. My problem right now is this chorus just doesn't feel like a chorus, and I think maybe I'm focusing too much on the drums. So I went ahead and kept focusing on the drums. This chorus was becoming a puzzle, and I was determined to figure it out. Some crash cymbals definitely added some energy, and I brought in this custom synthesizer from my private collection. Now we were headed in the right direction, but I still wanted to lay down a bass line for this chorus part. Just a fun bass line. I immediately knew what direction I wanted to go in with this bass line. After a solid 20 minutes of goofing around on the bass, I finally came up with something that I was really happy with. I was really happy with the progress that I had made today, but this chorus was still not quite right to me. That said, I accepted that the battle was lost, but the war was not over. What is this, day 5? Hopefully, this is going to be the final day. We're going to put the vocals on, put some finishing touches on, maybe. I really quickly made this stripped down version of the chorus so I could try to focus on what's working and what's not. The drums in the old chorus just felt like placeholder drums. I decided to restructure them so that they would complement the bass line. It's time for the vocals, and we gotta figure out how to sing like Tame Impala. He definitely sings in like a higher register. He usually doubles his vocals, so 2 vocals singing the same things on top of each other. He doesn't do like harmonies very often. Hear Jerusalem bells are ringing. Test, 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 test. I used to rule the world. Yeah, I decided to put some auto-tune on my vocals for obvious reasons. This song is already in a register that
throaty
I think
voice,
Tame Impala would
like
sing
almost
in.
feels a little fragile.
I'm not a great singer.
And
tough
your voice
Impala
just
really. Sometimes recording vocals feels like a descent into madness. But they're also where a song really comes alive. Tame Impala just does not push his voice, really. And they can be pretty fun. Not easy for me, it's not easy. And sometimes infuriating. Especially for your roommate. That's it, that's the right tone at least. So I did a whole bunch of takes until I was done with the first verse. With the first verse done, I wanted to dial in the vocal sound, so I pulled in a compressor, did some speedy EQing, duplicated the vocal track, and picked out my new takes for my vocal double. It still needed some spice, so I brought in a reverb and a short delay. And then I decided to get a little tricky with it. I brought in a longer delay and set it up to only activate on certain words. I was feeling pretty good about this sound, so I went on to record the second verse and the chorus. Alright, the vocals are done, so I think it's time to give it a listen. But first, thanks for watching. Seriously, feel free to like this video if you liked the video. Leave a comment, let me know how I did. Anyway, here's Viva La Vida by Tame Impala.
Singing, be my mirror, my sword and shield, a missionary in a foreign field. For some reason I can't explain, once you've gone there was never an honest word, but that was when I ruled the world.
That shit's tough.